Good morning, government class. It is Monday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. This week, we're going to be talking about two Supreme Court cases that were decided in the 1960s and 1970s, and that both impact personal freedoms, personal liberties, probably more than any other particular court cases in American history. The first one we're going to be talking about for a couple of days is Miranda versus Arizona. Then Wednesday we'll start talking a little bit about Roe versus Wade, which is what legalized abortion rights in the United States in 1973, if I recall correctly. But today and tomorrow, Miranda versus Arizona. If you've ever heard anyone talking about the Miranda rights, you have the right to remain silent, etc., that you always see in police procedural TV shows, this is what that comes from. And the point of Miranda is about the rights of people accused or suspected of a crime. Okay, so what are the rights of the accused? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. These words have been made famous by countless television dramas over the past 40 years. They stem from the Fifth and Sixth Amendments, to wit, nor shall any person be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, taking the Fifth, and the accused shall have the assistance of counsel for his defense. In other words, you have the right to a lawyer. Often called the Miranda rights, they must be spoken to suspects before police interrogation. In 1963, Ernesto Miranda was arrested at his home in Phoenix, Arizona. Accused of kidnapping and rape, he was questioned at the police station by two police officers. After 2 hours of interrogation, he signed a written confession. That confession was used at his trial, where Miranda was found guilty and sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. Miranda's attorney appealed to the Supreme Court of Arizona, claiming that Miranda had not been informed of his right to remain silent or to have an attorney present during the interrogation. The Arizona court upheld the conviction, however, noting that Miranda had not requested an attorney. The case was then appealed to the United States Supreme Court. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court overturned Miranda's conviction. Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote the majority opinion, which centered on what happens when a suspect is taken into custody. And I quote, "Today, then, there can be no doubt that the Fifth Amendment privilege is available outside of criminal court proceedings and serves to protect persons in all settings in which their freedom of action is curtailed in any significant way from being compelled to incriminate themselves. We have concluded that without proper safeguards, the process of in-custody interrogation of persons suspected or accused of crime contains inherently compelling pressures which work to undermine the individual's will to resist and to compel him to speak where he would not otherwise do so freely. In order to combat these pressures and to permit a full opportunity to exercise the privilege against self-incrimination, the accused must be adequately and effectively apprised of his rights, and the exercise of those rights must be fully honored." So, in other words, without the information, without the knowledge that you have these rights, you effectively are not able to access the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. It goes back to the Bill of Rights, and it goes back to the power of the individual against the power of the government. Okay, so these are the arguments for Miranda, for the accused in this case. Miranda was poor and uneducated. He did not know of his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, nor his Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Arizona ignored both the Escobedo rule, evidence obtained from an illegally obtained confession is inadmissible in court, and the Gideon rule, which says that all felony defendants have the right to an attorney. Miranda's confession was illegally obtained and should be thrown out, which it was. And Miranda's conviction was faulty, and he deserves a new trial. He got a new trial. He was convicted again, but he got a new trial that would, the prosecution in the second trial was not allowed to use his previous written confession, and he served 11 years of his sentence. Okay, the arguments for Arizona on their side of Miranda versus Arizona. Miranda was no stranger to police procedures. He negotiated with police officers with intelligence and understanding. Miranda signed his confession of guilt willingly. The prosecution was proper. His conviction was based on Arizona law, and his imprisonment was just. The Arizona Supreme Court upheld his conviction, and the rejection of his decision would cripple the work of police. Well, of course, it hasn't crippled the work of police in the last 40 plus years. So anyway, that is Miranda versus Arizona, which gives us the standard reading of the accused rights, generally as they are being arrested. So we're going to have a question on that tomorrow for you to turn in, and then we will go on midweek to Roe versus Wade. Hope everyone's having a good day. Stay dry in the storms we're supposed to get today, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.